Another night at the women's shelter. Another night at the refuge. You yourself have found a great deal of solace working here, and Christ, you've almost forgotten how many months you've been helping out at this place, spending many of your shifts at the hospital, where you take your employment, and spending so many hours of your free time here, helping out sometimes people you've encountered in the ward, other times it's a new face. But even new faces bear the same bruises that you've seen over and over and over again. It would be wrong to call this place depressing. There's great moments of clarity, of uplifting realization working here. It allows you to see the truth of the human condition. It allows you to understand what it is to escape a horribly abusive relationship, and hopefully counsel people to stay out of them. You know, it's not so easy as just giving someone a stern talking to. God, you've seen and worked with so many nurses, so many carers that always say what these people need is a clip around the ear. They need to be brought to reality. They need to understand that they don't have to put up with this anymore. But as time has gone on, you've realised that kind of tough love is just another form of abuse. What the women in your care need is understanding. What they need is a certain level of openness, someone they can trust, and someone to hold their hand when they need direction to a way out. And you try your best to be that person, Maria. You have really tried your best, despite all of the troubles in your life. What is it that drew you to working at St. Mary's Refuge?
It started with me working part-time at the gynecologist section of the local hospital, and I noticed that on the form it immediately specified that you could tick in if you were a victim of abuse, and that opened Maria's eyes, because she's been in a very loving neighborhood. Her family might have been a bit distant, but since she had always been the one looking after all the young kids, and then later on the girls as they began to grow up, it really broke her heart, because she never realized that it was a common thing for women to be suffering such intimate abuse. It made her worry that potentially one of the children that she'd been looking after had also suffered. So she thought that as a, not only as a good Christian, but as a good person, that it was important to invest some of her free time in giving back to the society which had given her so much. So she decided that she would volunteer at this women's shelter, which she viewed as a beacon of hope.
St. Mary's is, as you'd imagine, a Catholic-run centre, although, thankfully, even though you are a good Christian, it lays fairly easy on the religious side. There's far less proselytising than there are in some places run by nuns and the like. This more or less benefits from the church's largesse than expects women to attend prayers every morning and sing in the choir, although some certainly do turn to religion as a means of escape and a means of finding hope. Community is often found in singing songs and reading about parables, so there's a mixed relationship you have, because you're harshly aware from working at the hospital as well as here that religion isn't the only answer. And indeed, it's usually the answer at the end. There's a journey you have to take before God can find his way into someone's life as some kind of salve. Applying him too early is just a good way of hiding the real problems, of masquerading the real cures. But, as mentioned, St. Mary's has a way of being fairly pragmatic about such things. And there you are, working tonight, making your way through the corridors. Bunch of the clients, as they're often called, are sat in the lounge watching the TV together. Some of them are playing cards, some of them are playing board games. There's a generally cheerful atmosphere. Christmas is approaching. And again, the church often provides some small gifts to the people that stay here. Some of them short-term residents, sometimes long-term clients. You hear the door buzz. You can't see any other nurses making their way down towards the front door, so it looks like you're up.
I get up slowly and move towards the door, trying to get a good look at who is buzzing the door before I let them in.
The centre comes with frosted and smoked glass between pretty much every partition. You have become very much aware that abusers will often stop by this place, and they'll stare through windows just to intimidate the inhabitants, the clients. So it's to the benefit of all that it's difficult to see out. But you know this person. You know them from their shape, from the way their shoulders are hunched up, near to head. You recognise the slight waver, and as you get closer, you recognise the curled hair on top of her head as well. It's a young woman who's admitted herself to this place, you would guess, four times that you are aware of. And you don't know how many times she's admitted herself to other shelters around the city. Her name is Buvatoya. She's a migrant. Comes from Haiti, you think. But she's lived in the US for the best part of 5 or 6 years. You're wondering what wounds she's bearing today, but obviously you need to put any cynical thoughts from your head. Your job is to care and protect.
I suppose that there might be like an intercom and a phone that I can use to talk to her.
That's right.
So, just to be completely sure, I pick up the phone to talk to the intercom, and, well, at this point, we're on first name basis, so I'm going, Buvatoya, is that you?
Oh, Maria, thank God. I'd hoped it was you. I need to get in. I need to get inside.
Very well. Are you alone, or did you bring anyone with you?
I'm alone right now.
Okay, well, I'm buzzing you in.
The outer door unlocks. You hear her walk through it. It seals behind her. She enters the reception. Buvatoya is a small-framed woman of colour. She's delicate is a good way to describe her, at least her physicality. You know she's got a very defiant will, and you can be thankful for that. There's so many people, so many women you know that probably wouldn't even be able to bring themselves to admit themselves to a place like this, which is always deeply saddening, but no, she's always at least been able to face what's happened to her, what is happening to her, it seems, on a regular basis. And you can see, as she's made her way into reception, she has a small bag by her side. She often brings her light clothing along in it and her washing gear. But you can see from her face that she bears a split lip, a swollen shut eye, and no doubt that means she has bruises and marks underneath her clothing as well.
I approach her carefully and put a gentle hand on her shoulder and say, Now, you're safe. Let's go to the same room as you were before. It's all cleaned up, so you can settle right in.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Sorry, I keep putting on new people. And I don't mean to. I don't mean to be a burden. I know these rooms are so much in demand.
You are not a burden, I assure you. No, please, I need to take a look at your lip as well as any other open wounds that you may have.
Yeah, of course. You take her through to the bedroom she usually stays in. It wasn't being kept open for her, but it just so happens that it's vacant tonight. She sits on the edge of the bed. You can see from her busted lip that this wound was only inflicted probably within the last hour. The blood hasn't even dried yet.
Do you want to talk about what happened?
She looks away from you. You think that's shame, completely undue, but again, not uncommon.
It's okay.
I said something she told me I said something I shouldn't, and yeah, she said that I should shut up and listen more than I should speak. You know, Buvatoya has a tendency to date and see women with a tendency toward sadism, toward violence. And again, not entirely uncommon that you see the results of women-on-women violence here. Obviously, the vast majority of the violence visited upon the poor inhabitants of this refuge comes from men, but Buvatoya is a constant reminder that evil can come at the hands of women just as easily as it can from any other gender.
It's alright. It's okay. I've told you before that I believe that a relationship should go both ways, and that also applies to communication. It's never good when the communication is only one street, right? You should also be allowed to have a voice, just like everyone else. You shouldn't feel ashamed for speaking up if you felt like you were being mistreated.
No, I know. I know that I need to stop getting into these situations. I know that this is as much my fault. No, I know that it's not my fault. I know that I didn't do anything to deserve this. I've not done anything to deserve it any of the times this has happened to me. She is clinging on to her right arm, you can see, just above her bicep. Her top is over the arm that she's clinging to so preciously, but you can see blood has seeped through onto the fabric.
I'll be just a minute. I need to go get some supplies, but I really want to take a look at that arm and the wound you have over there. Okay? So... Yeah, of course. I'll be back as soon as possible, okay? Don't worry.
Okay.
So I leave to go get the first aid basics, some disinfectant.
You bump into one of the older nurses, and you recognise her as Elsa. She raises her eyebrows. Did someone new just come in?
Oh, it's Buvatoya. She's back again.
Don't forget to fill out the paperwork this time. Maria, we can't just be giving them we can't have them off the books just because they're frequent flyers.
I know. She's bleeding, so I thought I would tend to her first and try to calm down. She seemed pretty rattled.
Oh, of course. Don't let me stand in the way.
Thank you.
She walks off, leaving you to fill up with medical supplies.
I do so in quiet and just double check that I have everything before heading back to the room Buvatoya is in.
You do. You have bandages, you've got some antiseptic gel, that kind of thing.
I just hope that it isn't worse than what this first aid kit can do. Worst case, might have to call for a doctor or second opinion, something like that. But I am pretty confident that if it is a shallow wound or something like that, I should be able to manage it on my own.
You make your way back to her room. She's still there. She's laying on the bed now, shaking.
Buvatoya, I'm back. Is everything okay?
Yeah. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm sorry.
Are you cold? I could get you an extra blanket if you want.
No, I've just come over feeling quite nauseous. Don't worry, I don't think I'm going to be sick. It's probably just relief, that's all.
It's okay. Sometimes the adrenaline sets in and you feel like you can't stop shaking, but it's completely normal.
Yeah, at least this time I came straight here. As soon as I could. Didn't leave it.
No, that's good. I'm happy that you came here. That means that we can help you instead of you having to suffer alone. Now, I want to take a look at your arm. So, would you mind moving your hand so I could see the wound?
She does so very gingerly. She again seems quite embarrassed about the wound, looking away from it. She slides the top down from her shoulder and pulls her arm out of the sleeve. And it's quite clearly a bite mark that makes a neat circle on the flesh above her bicep. You're not sure whether it's a human bite. I mean, you're no expert in dentistry, but those marks all look very sharp. More like a dog, but again, you're no expert, but then the circumference of the bite doesn't seem to match that of a dog either. You can see that the wound is already looking a bit puffy and ill. There's no foul odours emerging from it, thank God, but it certainly doesn't look like a clean wound.
I do my best to try to clean it up and carefully broach the question of how did you get this wound? If you don't mind me asking, I just want to make sure that it's not from a dog or something, so it might get infected or something like that. There's also, well, not really here, but it depends on where the dog is from, and...
It wasn't a dog.
Oh.
In between the time I saw you last and now, I fell in with a bit of a bad crowd. I thought that it was... You know, I'm a working girl, Maria. I my money however I can, and I'm at peace with that. And I thought that this, because it was run by women, and everyone seemed so happy and so dedicated to it, that there wouldn't be any violence, at least not from the working women, you know? But I was wrong. The woman in charge, her name's Marnie, she said that I wasn't pulling my weight, and I cowered, and I recoiled, and I couldn't stand up for myself, and that seemed to just make her even more angry. I'm not in a relationship with her or anything like that. She's supposed to be like an employer, you know? A madam, if you want. And she hit me, and she bit me, and it was like I think she was just trying to humiliate me. It was like she was drinking my blood, and it hurt so much. It really... I've never felt pain like it before. From everything that I've been through before, I've never felt pain like when she bit into my arm. It was like electricity going through my body. It was like I was on fire. Like my blood was burning gasoline.
A lot of the times, those kind of people who want to abuse and humiliate others, they do it because they want to take away power from you. And you know that I don't judge you for doing sex work. It's sometimes that is what people must do in order to survive, and I don't think it makes a person any less good for simply wanting to survive. It's a human instinct. So
I really appreciate you, Maria, and everything that you do. I wish I could turn all of this around. I wish I could just start again in a different city and have none of this over me, but it's in my DNA now. It's like this is how I react to things, and I just bring this kind of violence out of people, and I don't get it. I don't know why people feel the need to treat me like this. It's, you know how my ex used to say that I'm just a natural victim, that from the way I look, people it just attracts the kind of people that want to hurt me. And I don't know, I wonder how much of that is true. If I'm just making myself too obvious to predators like that.
Sometimes when you've suffered abuse for a very long time, you become accustomed, and you start to believe that that is the way you deserve to be treated. While that is not true, it might be that part of you unconsciously are drawn to those kind of people who emit power, but that is an abusive power. And again, here at St. Mary's, we do offer therapies and group sessions where we who are staying here, we support each other and we try to build each other up. And maybe you can then gain that confidence that you need so that you can recognize those kinds of predators that are only looking to abuse you.
Have you ever... I'm sorry, I shouldn't ask. It's not my business.
No, it's okay. I've never really had anything such traumatic in my past. I did once suffer a broken arm after being pushed off a tree by a bully. But it
sorry.
No, it's okay. I kinda deserved it. I was a bit of a shit towards them. But I have to protect my family, and the women here at the shelter are now also part of my family, so I at least managed to calm down a bit, so I'm not as aggressive as I used to be as a young child, the mama bear stereotype to the fullest.
You hear the door buzz, and then you hear the shuffle of feet outside the room, and Elsa calls in as she walks past. Don't worry, I'll get it.
It's sad.
I'm just so glad you're here to look after me when all the times I need you to. I'm very grateful. When I do get myself back on my feet, I'll find a way of repaying. I'll find a way of helping out here, maybe, or doing something like that.
We could always use a good set of hands here. We're almost chronically understaffed, but I really do hope that things get better for you, Buvatoya, and I do think that one day you'll get there. Just remember that recovery isn't always predictable. It has its ups and downs, and you might be down now, but we're here to help you to get back again, okay?
Okay. You hear some weeping outside, not uncommon, as Elsa walks by with the new client. And you hear Elsa saying, It's okay, Marnie, it's okay. I'll get you to a room. It'll be alright.
I get a bit of a red flag, because that is the name that Buvatoya just mentioned, but...
And her eyes are wide like saucers at hearing it. She's followed me here. She's followed me here. She's come here to get me.
No, don't worry.
She's come here to get me.
Don't worry.
And she's going to tell... If she's injured herself to get in here, she's lying. I haven't done anything to her. I have not. I give you my word. I promise you, I have not done anything. But that's going to be her. She's managed to persuade her way in here, and she's going to find a way of hurting me again or getting me out of here.
I won't let anyone come in here, okay? Could you tell me how she looks like? And I just want to make sure that Elsa, the other nurse who's here, also is aware that there might be, some conflict here.
She's broad-shouldered, got dark hair, black hair in a braid, has a, I guess, tanned complexion, brown eyes. I guess in terms of identifying features, that she has a mole on just to the right of her right eye from memory. I mean, I've seen her so many times, but it's odd. I can't even recall her. The weirdest thing about her, I guess, is she sometimes stinks. It's like she's got a real sewery odor to her. I know that sounds weird, but I don't get it. Sometimes when she's stressed or angry or something like that, she really just starts to reek of a bad, shitty body odor. and sometimes when I look at her, it's like I'm looking through a mask that she's wearing. And sorry, I'm getting a bit too creative, I guess, but yeah. I guess, yeah, she definitely has a mole to the right of her right eye, and yeah, that, I think everything I've just said. Average height.
Well, I'll be sure to be on the lookout for any of those features. I'm going to lock the door, okay?
Thank you. Don't worry. I know where the emergency button is.
Okay, good. So yeah, I won't let anyone in here, and you can reach me via the reception. Just like buzz for the reception or the emergency button, and I'll come running. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. I'll be right back. So I leave Buatoya's room, giving her one last look and giving her a confident nod before shutting the door and locking it with a key.
Are you heading in the direction that Elsa took, this Marnie character?
Yes.
You make your way down the carpeted corridor toward the next, well, until recently vacant bedroom. And you can see Elsa taking much the same position you had with Buvatoya. She's sat on a chair, facing the bed. Middle-aged woman is sat on the bed, listening to Elsa give her all kinds of words of comfort, occasionally a pat on the hand. You can't see that this woman is bearing any physical wounds, but she's certainly crying a great deal, to the point that she's barely getting any words out. She doesn't look how Buvatoya described her. So it could just be a complete coincidence. This woman's got a sort of dirty blonde hair, and you wouldn't describe her as being a particularly broad-shouldered individual.
Sorry, Elsa?
Maria? Yes. Can I help you? As you can see, I'm just with someone who's just arrived.
Yes, it can wait, but I do have to speak to you later. It's about another client that we have here.
Of course, yes. As soon as I'm done, we'll catch up.
All right, thank you. So I actually head back to the reception to get the paperwork, and then returning to Buvatoya's room, I give her door a bit of a light knock before saying her name and announcing that I'm now gonna unlock the door and that I'm alone.
She says, "Come in."
Hi.
She's sat up on the bed, hasn't really moved far from where you last left her. Is it her?
No, it's not.
You sure?
Well, she didn't match the description that you gave me, so...
Okay. I'm probably just overthinking it. I'm just on edge, you know?
It's alright. I completely understand. I also got worried when I heard Marnie, but now that I think about it...
You hear a crash from down the corridor.
Oh,
Buvatoya is again looking startled. It's not that uncommon for people to suddenly lash out in anger, frustration, or sadness, but every single time it happens, it alarms the clients.
Don't worry, I'm sure it's just maybe something was dropped or... you know. Anyway, Buvatoya, I'm gonna go have a look again.
You hear a...
Okay,
from down the corridor.
I rush out of the room at this point.
Elsa is clawing her way out of the room that you've just seen her in. She bears a startling wound on the side of her neck. She is bleeding profusely onto the thick carpet. Her eyes are wild as she looks up at you.
Elsa, oh my god, what happened?
You don't think she can make words out terribly well.
I run up to her to try to identify where she's bleeding from and maybe put pressure on the wound.
There's a deep gash running across half of her neck.
That's not good at all. So I dash into the room to call for additional help.
Yeah, there are some other nurses here, so there should be at least someone will come to assist. But the one thing you notice as you push the plunger is Marnie isn't in here anymore.
Well, I have some alarm bells that go off in my head, but I need to attend to Elsa or she might bleed out before we can get additional help.
You hear a scream from the corridor.
Oh no. I look in the direction of the scream.
There's a woman standing over Elsa. You recognise her as one of the other clients here. Oh god! Oh god! Oh god!
I approach her and try to calm her down. It's like, it's okay. I called for help. Just stay calm, okay?
There's something walking around in here. Some kind of creature. And she runs off down the corridor.
Okay, that's not good at all. How is Elsa looking?
She's passed out. The blood continues to flow, and you're not sure for how much longer. You can potentially staunch the bleeding, potentially, but this wound, that she needs to be in hospital. Another nurse shows up within the next 10 seconds, but the seconds feel like minutes in terms of Elsa's lifespan now. The blood is exiting the wound fast. Another one of the clients shows up. Is there anything we can do to help?
We need to try to stop as much of the bleeding as possible until we can get her to a hospital.
Yes. And so they do their best to tend Elsa as you make your way to the reception, where there's a telephone. As you're making your way there, you hear another crash from elsewhere.
Oh, God.
And it's just instinctively that you know it's Buvatoya's room. You can keep making your way to the telephone, or you can go and check on Buvatoya.
I feel like I have a personal responsibility to go check on her.
You might rationalise to yourself that it's only going to take another 10 seconds. What does that matter? And so you dash back toward her room, and the door is open. Buvatoya is being dragged from the bed by something that could best be described as a rotting, putrid corpse. Skin is mottled and creased. There's a rank odour of fecal matter and urine that just emanates from her direction. She's approximately a woman, but you wouldn't tend to take a guess. The hair is hanging off of her head in clumps. If this were a more light-hearted scene, which seems unlikely, you might describe her as looking like a zombie, but right now it just looks like a monster, and is dragging Buvatoya from her bed and towards the door where you're standing. It turns around with a snap of its neck. You're gonna stand aside?
I feel like I'm frozen in place, just trying to process what is going on and what this ugly creature is. So, part fear, but also part defiance kind of solidifies my stance at the door. I don't say anything. Not yet. The words don't form in my head, nor in my mouth. But my sense of responsibility to protect the women here makes me stand tall at the door.
Ah, well. The creature pulls a knife from its pocket. Elsa couldn't have searched when she came in if this was Marnie. But you don't often search people that turn up here crying or injured. It's just not something you do. It's impolite, improper, and can leave people feeling ill at ease. And bizarrely, the thing that flashes through your mind is maybe that's a procedural change that needs to happen. Maybe. But the rotting creature, one hand with its fingers looped through Buvatoya's hair as it drags her, the other clutching this knife, lunges toward you.
I try to dodge out of the way. Is there anything nearby that I can use as a weapon? A fire extinguisher?
A fire extinguisher. Do you want to fire at her with the fire extinguisher, or are you going to try and use it as a bludgeon?
It depends on the size of the fire extinguisher.
It's big, but you find yourself possessed of an uncommon strength. This isn't the first time you've had an adrenaline rush, but this is someone under your care. This is someone you have pledged yourself to protect. And the fire extinguisher, industrial in size, comes off the ground surprisingly easy in your hands.
Then I will try to use it as a weapon, using both gravity and a circular motion, or half circle, very much thrusting from the hip and shoulder. I heft the fire extinguisher at this creature.
The maneuver clearly takes the monster by surprise. It wasn't expecting a fight. It was either expecting to cut you down or for you to run, screaming. And there's a dull thud with a light clang to it as the heavy piece of metal just smashes in to the monster's face. You can actually see you've separated skin. The creature lets go of Buvatoya as it clutches its face and, gripping onto the knife, lunges at you again. This time, although Buvatoya has been abandoned, the blade connects with you. The monster leaves the blade embedded in your abdomen and says, "Fine," and looks over at Buvatoya. "Looks like you have a new protector now." Looks back at you, as you no doubt look stunned down at the blade plunged into you. "Consider that a gift. Consider her a gift." And it vanishes. It seems to vanish completely from sight. And you see a trail of mud and blood making its way down the carpet until even that disappears. As you fall to the ground in immense pain. You don't think you're dying, but you know this is a nasty, nasty injury you've got, and your body is already succumbing to shock. You can't necessarily feel the pain so much as you can feel that something is horribly wrong. There's a piece of metal jutting from your midsection. Buvatoya gets up from the floor, goes over to you, cradles your head as you are passing in and out of consciousness, and she says, "Thank you. Thank you. I think you've sent a sign. I think you've sent Marnie a sign that you're my protector now." And you're not really sure what the words mean. You know you'll be okay. You know that an ambulance will get here soon. You know that whatever wound you've suffered will heal up. What you don't know is that one of the other women in the shelter has been watching out for you all this time, has been watching to see what you would do in an event like this, has been keeping tabs on you for years as a potential member of her bloodline This woman who stands at the end of the corridor and watches you slip into unconsciousness as Buvatoya holds your head, makes a mental note that soon you're going to be rewarded for this. Soon you're going to be indoctrinated into the Bahari, and it won't be too much longer that it will be introduced to the Lamia.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we played The Family, a Cults of the Blood Gods chronicle for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Cults of the Blood Gods is published by our friends at Onyx Path Publishing and is on Kickstarter right now. Our storyteller was the gentleman gamer Matthew Dawkins, and we were also joined by Jason Carl, Klara Herbøl, and Bianca Savazzi. The music was created by Atrium Corsari, featuring many collaborations with other artists from their label Cryochamber. Check them out at cryochamber.bandcamp.com and their YouTube channel for more amazing dark ambient. If you want more Vampire the Masquerade content, don't miss out on our chronicles No Man is an Island, as well as The Sacrifice for Chicago by Night. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia, Raulerson, and David, for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and see you soon again.